Hi, this is Smitty with the Supercoach Hub, and you're watching the Round 24 Zig or Zag, where I analyse the top three trade ins and outs of the week and look to see if there are similar players that could be a better buy or sell option than the more popular players. Will you Zig or will you Zag? So, on to the sells first. The top most sold play this week is Chance Nickel Klukstad, and he's roughly 658,000. And he got a category one concussion last week, so he's not playing this week, um, which is unfortunate for owners because he was looking good for the run home. He may miss next week, so it's his third concussion for the season. There have been reports that a few other players have had three concussions for the season and they've missed multiple weeks, not just a 1 week off. So I think it's might be a bit of a risk if you do hold him and he doesn't play again next week. It's also head-to-head finals now, so you want that spot filled up with a centre wing who's playing. So I see the reasoning for selling him, and I think if you can cover that spot well, you could hold for a week and see if he's back next week because Warriors have a really good run home. Um, because they had next week, they got Manly at home, Dragons at home, Dolphins away. So you can't get much better than that at the moment. It's a pretty good run. And then moving on for my Zag this week for Nickel Klukstad is Valentine Holmes. And he is the second most traded out at the moment. He is suspended for the rest of the season. So yeah, no point holding him in your team at the moment. If you've got both CNK and Holmes, why not sell Holmes instead? Because he won't play for the rest of the year until the finals, and then you can hold CNK until next week. Hopefully he plays. But yeah, if you've got Valentine Holmes, definitely he's a sell. Moving on to who is the third most traded out this week is Mitchell Moses, and he's just a bit over 700,000 with a break even of 102. And last week he only got a 39 against the Dragons, so owners were hoping for more in that game, especially up against the other big three halfbacks. But yeah, Moses unfortunately didn't deliver. And the Eels have Broncos away this round, so that's a pretty tough matchup as Broncos are up there as one of the better teams. The Eels run home as well. Next week they've got the Roosters at home, then the Panthers away after that, and then the bye in round 27. So they've got a pretty tough draw to end the season on, and I just think it's important to get one of the other three big halfbacks at the moment in Nathan Cleary, Sean Johnson, and Nicho Hynes. So I think it's a good time for owners to part ways with Moses and trade him for one of the big guns. And my Zag this week for Moses is another Eels player, Clint Gutherson. He's 840,000 with a big break even of 130. And he's the 10th most traded out currently as well. He's got a 5-round average of 86, so he's been doing pretty good. He's went off this year, old Gutho. But yeah, as I said with Moses, Eels have a tough remaining draw. I just think there's too many other good options at fullback as well, and it's a perfect time to sell Gutho for one of those other good fullbacks for this week. So moving on now to the fourth most traded out, who is Scott Drinkwater, and he's come down a little bit in price. He's 951,000 now. He's got a really big break even of 177. And the Cowboys have the bye this week, so he won't even take the field. Huge break even. I think it's a great sell for anyone who does not have Kalen Ponga at the moment, who has been killing it. So Drinkwater has had a couple of low weeks, which he's still scored pretty well, but I can see maybe the reasoning for holding. The Cowboys return. They have the Sharks at home, the Dolphins away. So two okay matchups there. And then they end on Panthers away. So that's a tough matchup in round 27. But if you're a head-to-head player and you've got Drinkwater and you've got a week off this week, so maybe you won last week, you got the week off, I can see merit in holding Drinkwater for the week off and then might be a bit of a pod next week because a lot of people have sold or just didn't get Drinkwater. But yeah, I think he's a sell this week for one of those other strong fullbacks. And my Zag this week for Drinkwater is Dylan Edwards. He's currently the fifth most traded out. He's 533,000. He's got a break even of 110. He's just had poor form lately, So I feel sorry for owners who jumped on a while back at his decent price, but he's got a 5 round average of 47 now. So yeah, underperforming lately, which is a shame for owners. Apparently, he's carrying an injury as well. I couldn't find any specific reports on what the injury is or how he's doing with it, but that might be an indication of why he hasn't been scoring that well in Supercoach. And he also may not play this week. I believe he got through the captain's run yesterday, but yeah, that's a watch for late mail for owners because if he's not playing, again, he could be traded out to one of those better fullbacks. Or, yeah, I mean, if he does play, he'd be a good play against Manly. But yeah, it all depends. I think it's team dependent, but yeah, I think you want one of those strong fullbacks for the run home. There's not many rounds left, so you want to maximise points in that position. So moving on now to the top buys for the week. So the most traded in player this week is Brian To'o, and he's just under 750,000 with a break even of 45. And he's got a 3 round average now of 99 and a 5 round average of 83. So he's doing well. He's in form for the Penrith Panthers. His lowest score since round 10 is 54. So that's a pretty good base there for Toto. He's always known for his base stats, does a lot of work. And yeah, he's just been getting a lot of attacking stats recently. So he's a good safe player. His average against Manly is 82 points, and that's in 4 games. So it's a pretty healthy average against Manly there. And Manly are pretty leaky on the edges this year as well. They've leaked a fair few tries to both sides. So I can see Toto getting a try, maybe 2 this game. And Panthers run home's pretty good. So they've got Manly away this week, then the Titans away, and then around 26, Eels at home, and they finish with the Cowboys at home too. So I think there's plenty of points on offer there for the Panthers run home, and Toto could benefit with that. And I just had a look at Toto's average points for his final 4 teams, and he averages 72 collectively against those 4 teams. So that is a real good average. So yeah, I think he's a prime centre wing for the run home. He is a bit expensive. That's one of the downsides. And he's no longer a pod. He's owned by 28% of the top 10% of coaches. But I just think he's one of the better centre wings to have at the moment. So yeah, Toto is one to get in. I agree with that one. My Zag for Toto this week is Dane Gagai, and he is 686,000 with a break even of 51. And he's more of a pod than Toto. So if you're looking for more of a pod option, Gagai's a good bet there. And he's only owned by 9% of the top 10% of coaches. So definitely a more pod option there. He averages 81 this year, so he's doing really well. He's got a low score of 37 the whole season, so he's got a good floor as well. But he's limited with his high scores. So his high score is 109, and he's only got one score over 100. So based on that, he doesn't go huge. He's consistent. He's got a good base, averaging 81. But yeah, he won't be that kind of massive player that puts a big 150 on by the looks of it. But he's still decent. Yeah, 81 points as an average is massive. And the Bulldogs, they're up against the Bulldogs this week, the Knights, and they concede the most tries per game than any other team. So Gagai could go over here. They have a decent run to finish off as well. They've got Bulldogs this round at home, Rabbitohs at home, Sharks at home, and then Dragons away. So decent run home to finish. And the Knights, they're just in top form at the moment. They are killing it. They've shot into the 8 as well. So yeah, Gagai's a good shout there as a pod to Toto. And moving on to the second most traded in player, which is Latrell Mitchell, and he's 720,000 with a break even of 84. So he's at a nice price at the moment. He's just come back from injury and scored a 74 and a 71, and with no tries in that either. So he's come back and done pretty well. Dropped a bit of price at the moment, and the Rabbitohs are versing the Dragons this week. And in 2 games at fullback for 80 minutes, Latrell scored 123 and 74 against the Dragons in the past. So I think he's on for a good one this round. The Dragons are also missing a couple of their decent players. So they're missing Jack Bird, Zach Lomax, and Francis Molo. So I don't think Rabbitohs will win this game comfortably. And I see Latrell Mitchell getting a few attacking stats in this one. Definitely a captain option or vice captain option in this one too. And the Rabbitohs, they do have a pretty mixed run home. So they've got the Dragons this week, which is in Cairns. Might be Rabbitohs home game because we know there's Rabbitohs supporters everywhere. And then they've got next week the Knights away. So that is a pretty tough matchup with the Knights' run of form at the moment. In round 26, they have the bye, which is the head-to-head grand final if you make it. So that's another tough one for any Rabbitohs coaches with Rabbitohs players. And then they finish with the Roosters in Sydney. So that'll be a pretty heated game, as it usually is between those two teams. So Rabbitohs have a pretty tough run. This game, however, I see them winning comfortably and winning big. So Latrell Mitchell's a good shout, definitely for this round and probably moving forward as well. So then moving on to my Zag for Latrell Mitchell this week, and it is Kalen Ponga. And he's over $1 million, 1,024,000 with a break even of 82. And he's the fourth most traded in player this week as well. He's got a 5-round average of 131 points. So that is huge. He's actually 30 points ahead of the next player with their 5-round average, which is Drinkwater. And then he's actually 40 points ahead of the next few players looking at 5-round averages, which Sean Johnson, Nathan Cleary, Big Tino. So those players, they're in a bit of form at the moment, and Kalen Ponga is just averaging 40 more points a game than them. So that just shows you how good a form he is in at the moment. He is killing it. The Knights are up against the Bulldogs this week. They concede the most tries to fullbacks more than any other team. So, yeah, I think Knights will be strong against the Bulldogs this week at home. Bulldogs are coming off a bye, so they might be a bit more fresh, and they're coming off a 1-point win as well the week before that against the Dolphins. They've got a few players back. Viliami Kikau's back, Josh Adokar. They've recruited Toby Sexton in the halves, so they're looking like a better team at the moment, at least 2 weeks ago. So, there's an argument to say Bulldogs might show up a bit more for the run home, but I still think with the Knights' form, they'll put on a decent score against the Bulldogs. And yeah, the Knights run home as Bulldogs are home this week. And then they got the Rabbitohs at home next week, Sharks at home the following week. So 3 home games in a row. And then they finish with the Dragons away. So some pretty good matchups there as well. So I think any Knights players in Supercoach teams will, at least the few that get the attacking stats there, they'll be good for your teams on the run home. Moving on now to the third most traded in player, and that is Jermaine Asako. And he's at 582,000 with a break even of 12. So he scored pretty well last week. He got 124 against the Knights. He's pretty cheap too. He's averaging 75 points per game this year, and he's 580k. So he's at a good price. Before last round, though, he hadn't scored over 66 since round 14. So he has been on a bit of a form slump. And I had a look at the numbers, and I noticed when Balance Tafade is in the side and playing 80 minutes, Jermaine Asako is averaging 64. So it's not a bad average, but it's nothing big, nothing huge. I think Asako had those big games before Tafade was in the side. However, Tafade was in the side last week when Asako went big. So I think with Tafade in the side, Tafade is more of a ball runner, doesn't pass as much to Asako. So I think Asako is less likely to get those attacking stats with Tafade inside him. So I don't know. He's not the centre wing I would be targeting this week. But yeah, I don't know. It is a tough one. He's shown he can go big. He kicks goals, so he's got a decent base on him. I just don't think he'll get that 120 odd score again, or it's not too likely for the rest of the season. And the Dolphins run home as Roosters away this round. We don't know what Roosters side will turn up. Then they got the Tigers away, Cowboys at home, and Warriors at home. So I see that as a pretty mixed draw. And this week, next week's pretty good. Cowboys at home, could go either way. Warriors at home, Warriors are on fire. So Dolphins have a mixed run there. So yeah, don't really agree with that one, but he's got a good base. I don't think he'll let you down as a trade-in. And then my Zag for Asako this week is Campbell Graham. So he's 585,000 and he's got a break even of 106. Just a note there as well, break evens don't matter too much at this point of the season because you're not trading them out again, most probably. So it doesn't matter too much about what price they'll be in a few rounds because it'll be all over. And he is a good price at the moment for a 71 point average this season. Rabbitohs play the Dragons in Cairns, as I said with Latrell. Mixed run home, as I said, but I think if you're looking for a 1 week play, Campbell Graham's one of the best options this week. So the Dragons concede 14 tries to right centres and 19 tries to right wingers this season, compared with conceding 2 to left centres and 12 to left wingers. So they concede way more on their right side. Dragons concede way more on their left side. So that leads me to believe Campbell Graham, the Rabbitohs are going to go to their right side to get through that weak Dragons defence on their left. So I see the ball going to Campbell Graham quite a lot. And we know how good of an attacker he is. He's a big unit. He can do those little short balls, draw the winger in, get a try assist to the winger, or just go himself. So I think if it might be a must win for your team this week, and you're going for a Hail Mary. If your opponent doesn't have Campbell Graham, he's a real good trade in this week and might get a few attacking stats as well. So yeah, that's it. That's all for this week's Zig or Zag. Thanks for watching and good luck with your trades.